London Fields is known for its violence within the borough of Hackney. The violence has died down in recent years, however, but London Fields saw some of the most dangerous murders, tic-for-tac shootings, and many more tragic incidents. Many of these incidents are related to gang wars, which the media would overlook throughout the years. The violence saw many victims fall to stabbings, shootings, and acid attacks leading to life support or death. However, we cannot talk about the mentioned without a topic to add on to it. The topic we'll be speaking about is the most dangerous gangs within London Fields. Whether the gangs are big or small, popular or irrelevant, this will include some members and origins that give the mentioned gangs the dangerous status. Anyways, we can't talk about them without getting into the video, so let's get straight into it. NW9 are a large gang based within Barnet, with most of their estates taking up the Barnet borough. The most common Graham Park estate they're based at has been known for numerous shootings and stabbings around there, making it a no-go zone for the public. NW9 has been known to be dangerous, specifically the older generation, which makes them more feared. The older generation of NW9 included known dangerous members such as R2, M2, Sneaks, Drips, SK, Swifty and Bills. NW9 gave themselves a dangerous name as they made an alliance with 156 and Beef Peckham boys, killing at least 3 or 4 of them in the war. They also had beef with Masco 17 and were constantly pressuring Woolworth after losing a young member named Poison, who was stabbed to death inside an abandoned building in Rayners Lane by Masco members. NW9 went on to kill also 4 members from Masco, putting them to the ground. NW9 were also dangerous as they had a large stack of guns. Police even said that they couldn't trace anyone down with possession of firearm from the Graham Park area. They are too dangerous to the point their rivals went inactive from their block. 3x3 are a large street gang based in Bouncy's Road in Edmonton. N9, they rep the colour green and rep subsets AFG and ALG. Now 3x3 have a quite dangerous reputation in the streets. For one, they're responsible putting Peckham boss Taswich on life support, getting his kidney removed. Members such as Slump, Narco, Dimsy, Rams and Sonny made a huge name to themselves, and 3x3 putting Edmonton on the map. Allegedly, they're responsible for shooting a Peckham older in the head and many more tit-for-tat incidents with 156. Another thing that made them dangerous was their alliance with the gang Wood Green, in which was in the Greenside Alliance. Greenside Alliance, specifically 3x3, would have the most heated beef with 156, Peckham boys, Masco 17 and many more gangs around the area. Many stabbings and shootings they were responsible for made police patrol their estates more often than anyone else. They were really active in their beefs to the point police started to click in and arrest majority of their main members, sentencing them to jail for a minimum of 24 years for murder. After losing their main members, 3x3 would start losing activity on the roads, but still remained locked in and managed to step up for the main drillers. In recent years, however, nobody from Edmonton has not been outside, but still hold their name for being dangerous to this day. NPK are a large street gang based on the Northumberland Park estate within the N17 postcode. Despite not winning most of their beefs, they were still holding it down against the big gangs and managed to keep their beefs even. NPK had a little alliance with the surrounding gangs, PLB, allegedly Masco 17, Peckham and Rayners Lane, before splitting up with all of them and making a new alliance with NW9 and 7th. Now NPK were quite small in numbers and would still be making noises in the streets. Members such as Ishi, KK, Ramps, Rams and LJ or Lil Jojo were making a lot of noise in the beef with Masco 17 and Peckham boys. Despite having small numbers, they were still winning their beefs against the bigger gangs. They'd eventually make an alliance with 156 and 7th, making them stronger in joint numbers and cause a lot of tantrum in Walworth. NPK were even responsible for murdering a Masco member behind the NW9 garage of a revenge attack for a respected member of 7th named Wist. The revenge attack happened an hour after Wist died, and it got to the point nobody from Masco wanted to mess with NPK and their alliance. NPK were also responsible for a quadruple shooting on Masco's 17 members. Ramps would shoot Theo, Lucky, Ash, and other Masco members on the high streets, making him a target. Unfortunately, the streets would catch up to NPK, as the whole batch would disband, leaving only PLB in the N17 postcode. Despite that, they still managed to put respect on their name, especially the members of the gang, which is quite impressive for a gang with small numbers and not reluctant on big numbers. Malastrip, or a large street gang based in Walthamstow within the E10 postcode. They were a big name in London fields, especially with the money they were making through guns and drug sales. Big names such as Sham, Trendy, Tadee, J3 and Ino were making a lot of noise on the roads and in jail, and they gained a huge amount of respect from every gang within London fields, especially their ops. During the beef with Manor Park, Malastrip were responsible for the most violent attack, as they caught the underboss and kidnapped him, taking him to an unknown location. They'd eventually arrive at the location and start torturing him for almost an hour, knocking him out unconscious. Police were aware of the incident and arrested 3 Malastrip members the next day, but would get released for lack of evidence against them. Some cases with Malastrip even involved tit-for-tat incidents, as they were shooting up Manor Park almost every day, even hitting at least 2 or 3 people on the estate. Apparently Malastrip would kill a Manor Park affiliate and would go quiet after an intense war scene, as the police started to patrol more around the E10 and E12 postcodes. After this, nobody wanted to mess with Malastrip and make the wrong move towards them, although in their case they could put the beef aside and make money. But since then, nobody has caused Malastrip any trouble at all after the damage they done to Manor Park. Drillford are a large street gang based in Ilford within the IG1 postcode. Before Drillford was around, they were mainly named TRB, but went on to rebrand their name. But I'll be speaking about Drillford mainly in this. Now Drillford were known to have a huge stack of guns and melees, including having the most active members from youngest to oldest. Named members Macketti, Skengs or SP, Knight, Gator and Murder were keeping Drillford on the map in the beef with 15 crashers, and would be constantly riding out to 15 crashers block looking for a kill. Drillford were responsible for stabbing a 15 crashers member on a public high street, and would almost kill him. However, paramedics would revive him at the scene. Next day police would arrest Drillford members and would release them due to no links with the attack. Things got even worse on the streets as Drillford started selling guns to street gangs, 1, 5, 6, 7, under the street gangs. Some sales would go well, some wouldn't, to the point Drillford would put pressure on the street gangs that done them wrong. Allegedly a member from an unnamed gang would scam a Drillford member for a pump shotgun. The next hour or so Drillford would find his house and shoot him at least 22 times, almost killing him. Drillford were heavily putting pressure on their ops, especially with their allies 156, and were very dangerous in the eyes of the police. Nobody from Ilford has been arrested for the stabbing on a high street and shooting an unknown man in his home to this day. This shows how organised and dangerous they are for a street gang. Peckham Boys were a massive street gang based in SE15 around the Peckham district. Peckham Boys had a large amount of members within the gang and was very active in London Field's most deadly gang war that only the OGs know about. Peckham Boys included members such as Corey, Ozzy, Ryan, Stax and Splashface, who were very active. Peckham Boys also had a large amount of guns from plugs and were gaining a large amount of attention through social media and the news due to the amount of shootings and stabbings they were responsible for. They were especially responsible for killing a loved member of 156 Ebenezer in the gang war they were involved in. Peckham boys also had involvement in shooting another member of 156 named Fan Stated, putting in on life support, in which enraged the war between Peckham and Northolt. The gang had huge ties with Rayners Lane, NPK, and few other gangs, as the gangs knew what Peckham were on and pretty much involved themselves in the war. Peckham also had a close alliance with Masco 17 before tensions rised as a Masco member allegedly called out Peckham for putting a bounty on Theo and cut ties with each other. Peckham were active to the point they were riding to Northolt almost every day and would cause tantrum with tit-for-tat shootings and stabbings. Eventually they even rid to Walworth and allegedly stabbed 4 Masco members, putting them in critical condition. However, this may not be true. Unfortunately for Peckham, they'd lose 4 members to the 156 and NW9 alliance, but would still do number of drills, despite many members moving from PB to 156. It is unfortunate how they went from being an active gang bringing mayhem around the whole of London fields to barely being about. However, it's still impressive how they managed to do well without most members that got de-recruited or left their own way. Either way, despite all the talk about these gangs, the street life is still not worth it, as it leads to only jail or death. Any gangs that were not mentioned in this video? I don't know, to be honest. Wait and see, I guess. Anyways, ending it off here. Have a lovely day. Peace.